I'm Gloria Strode and welcome to Straightforward. Today I am visiting with my awesome friend Diane Pope from the Autism Hope Center. It is always a pleasure to visit with you.
We are so grateful that you know, one of your causes is autism.
Well, I always get so frustrated when I run into people and we're not putting the right attention and resources into your work. There are so many children, so many families that's touched by autism. I just really can't connect the dots as to why we don't have the funding and the support. I know you've been doing this for what, more than 30 years now, trying to help not just your child, but others on this journey. And for some reason, I just don't understand why they don't understand.
Well, it has got better. Because there is more understanding now, because more people are touched.
Right.
Now the numbers are so high. But I think, to be honest, that most people don't give it a second thought until a family member or a close friend or someone that they can relate to, you know, has autism, and they can see how it affects the family.
Right. So until it happens to them,
right,
people don't get it.
Right.
Right. And so your journey, and I just like for us to always share this because you are a subject matter expert. I mean, there's no left and right, not by choice. It's because the world was not ready, they were not prepared, and you had to teach those that probably should have known, professionally trained in all these other areas, because you experienced it with your son.
Yes.
And Gary is how old now?
35.
35!
Yeah.
So we're driving the car, we're a college student,
yeah,
took physics.
Yes.
And we passed physics 1.
Yeah.
Oh, see, and I would just,
hallelujah, right?
I would be in that remedial class because it's been too long since I was in school, so I wouldn't even be able to help Gary with the homework.
It was tough.
It was tough.
Yes.
So you had a busy time with that physics.
Yes.
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 So, but let's go back. When you first had Gary, you knew he was smart on some things, something wasn't quite right. You always share that.
Right. I mean, he was reading non-fiction space books at 3 years old.
Really?
Reading them, not just, you know, looking at the pictures,
right,
actually reading them.
Recognizing the words.
Yes.
Okay.
And I had someone over to babysit one time and with a friend, and they were just like amazed that he could read the Weather Channel.
Yes.
Absolutely read as it was going through, he was reading it.
Yes.
And they just felt he was too young for that. And I
right.
said, well, that's how
so they just labeled him brilliant.
Yes. Yes. And to some extent the school did that, and they would single him out because he knew his 1 through 15 times table, so the headmaster would bring all the visitors to hear Gary recite his tables.
Wow.
And he hated it.
Really?
He absolutely
He didn't like all of that extra
yeah,
attention and stimulation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, he was great in some areas, but in other areas the behaviors were definitely an issue. And so I took him to Auburn to try and get him tested. This was, I don't know, early 90s.
Okay.
And they just said, well, you know, put him in a gifted class.
Really?
And he wouldn't even cooperate to take the test.
Okay.
You know.
So we were smart in some areas, but lacking in the social side.
Well, and two, I think as he got older, it became more obvious. He was fine with very simple concepts,
right,
but once things got a bit more, I won't say complicated, but had more nuance,
right,
he couldn't distinguish.
Okay.
And even now to this day, he'll complain about the test he gets at college, you know, because they have multiple choice questions.
Okay.
And if there's 2 that's similar,
right,
he can't.
Well, I can't sometimes. No, because it's a difference of maybe a single word.
Yes.
And that's the thing we had to teach some kids about with standardized tests.
Right.
When you're going to make that selection and color it in, you have to be able to. So that is frustrating. So I'm kind of with Gary on that one. Okay.
But anyway, so you know, that was it. That was we just need to go in the gifted class, and so that wasn't going to happen. We just carried on, and as he got to sort of 7, 8, it was so much more obvious that he was different to the other kids.
Okay.
not just in the behaviors, but also he didn't try and hang with them.
He didn't want friends. He was not trying to hook up, socialize, have buddies. He wanted his own space.
He was going from A to B, and he wasn't going to stop over here and chat.
Okay.
And it was clear that there were some differences, and so no one was interested in trying to find out what it was. So that was when I started reading books.
Really? Self-taught. As a mother with this young kid that everyone is saying is a genius, he's brilliant because he was reading at 3, but as a mother you knew. You knew something wasn't quite right. And I always tell people, every parent, every mother knows their child. Really, we do. Whether we look the other way or whatever, you know, some might have taken the easy route. Well, he's gifted.
Right.
So put him over there, and then that would have been disaster because he didn't have those other social skills.
Well, he couldn't have followed through with any of that. You know, just come to a brick wall, and that would have been it. And it's unfair to really try and pigeonhole the kids in that way.
Right. And so you've seen that with your own, and then some other families that you've had they've been blessed to work with you, because a lot of those lessons you learned the hard way. Blood, sweat, and tears. No, really. Probably a lot of sleepless days and nights. Right. And so you're able, through the Autism Hope Center, help families identify, because you know those things to look for.
And of course now it's so much easier because you can Google symptoms of autism, and I think it actually says on there, if you have more than a certain number of symptoms that match, then, you know, suggest a testing. But, you know, talking about that, I had an email this week from somebody that the pediatrician won't refer them to get tested. They just keep bringing the kid back every month. We just want to see him next month. Wasting valuable time when he could be getting therapy to help.
Right, to go on and address the issue and get a plan, so that that child can move on and progress, and not get frustrated and not get left behind. Okay, well, what we're going to do now is go to our first break to our sponsors, and we'll be right back. We'll be right back after word from some of our sponsors.
Straightforward is brought to you by State Senator Ed Harbison, serving the citizens of Georgia's 15th Senatorial District and on the front lines for veterans every day. Progressive Funeral Home, family owned and operated since 1952. The George Ford legacy of high standards continues today in the compassionate and professional services provided, a touch of dignity for those who care. Progressive Funeral Home, 4235 St. Mary's Road, trusted by generations. Whole Patient Healthcare. Dr. Jada Rimes-Bacote is board certified in family medicine. She believes the best patient care includes practical, individualized lifestyle changes. Located at 1338 13th Avenue, Columbus, 706-641-2080, or visit wholepatienthealthcare.com.
And welcome back to Straightforward. I'm continuing my wonderful visit with Diane Pope, who has given so much to families and children. A thankless job, not enough funding, and I have to keep saying that. I want people that see this show, that write checks to every organization, and I know people that faithfully write them to organizations, the same ones, year after year after year. I am pleading with them to please, you know, this one time, give that check to the Autism Hope Center. And before we went to the break, you were talking about now, which you didn't have it, where you could Google to get these symptoms.
Right.
Well, I didn't realize that the spectrum was so broad.
Yes.
And so I want you to touch on that. And then before we get through today, I want to make sure we go back and talk about what families should be doing to prepare for the children when they no longer are children, they become adults, and then the primary caregivers, guardians, or parents are no longer here. That's a very important conversation that needs to be had. People need to understand what the rules and the laws are, and what you think might be the best course of action might not be.
Right.
So right now I want you to just share with us some of the things on that very broad spectrum.
Well, I can't even remember how many years ago it was now, 3 or 4, they came up with the new DSM-5.
What's DSM-5?
Diagnostic.
Okay, so it's
Yeah.
all of it's the
Yeah.
diagnostic.
Yeah.
Okay.
And certain criteria means this. Used to be like my son, he was diagnosed with Asperger's, which
Okay.
was considered what they called at the time high functioning,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't use that word anymore.
So now we've got modern, and we got some other new term.
We've got autism 1, 2, and 3.
Okay,
So he would be an autism 1.
which is still high functioning.
Yeah,
Because he's driving a car,
right.
and you taught him,
Oh,
and survived.
how I don't know.
And he's a college student at Columbus State University, and we passed physics. So I mean, I'm very proud of that. Okay,
And please let him graduate at Christmas.
please, yes, because he's worked hard.
He has.
And he has stayed the course, and of course you have to. Because a lot of parents take the easy route. They just put them over there and just let them entertain themselves with videos and all that, and you're not that mom.
No, now sometimes it's got too much and he's taken a break.
It's okay to take a break.
And that's why he's 35 and hasn't finished yet. And he's changed his major 4 times.
But that's okay. I know
Exactly.
those that are not on the spectrum
Right.
that are professional students at
Yes.
college. And so
Yeah.
we have to give him a
Yeah.
pass on that.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I do have to say that there is a misunderstanding about the high functioning.
Okay.
Shouldn't say it, but there's not the ones that need less support.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that things are easier for them
Okay.
necessarily, and it doesn't mean they don't have any issues.
Mm-hmm.
They just are able to perhaps function more easily, but then when they go home they have a meltdown, scream or whatever. They can kind of keep it
Together to
Yeah.
fulfill that task. And then when they get to their safe space,
Yes.
they just kind of
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
So with our little kids in the store, and you all taught me this over the years, and I'm glad that you did, because I'm an old school grandmother. That's the way I was raised. You don't go out in the public and make a scene and fall out and have temper tantrums.
Yeah.
But after being with you all for so many years and listening and being a part of some of your celebrations, that is a part of what can happen with children on the spectrum.
Right.
They get overstimulated.
Yes.
And that's why
Yes.
you all have special sensory activities.
Yeah.
Right.
And it can come from the lights.
Mm-hmm.
It can come from what they're wearing. And a lot of them hate labels in their clothes. We have to cut all the labels out.
Well, that might be me. No, really. I have to, because they're scratchy.
Yeah.
Or they have
Yeah.
that nylon thread.
Yeah.
It's not like
Yeah.
old school clothes
Yeah.
where they were really cotton.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, unfortunately, when it gets to that point, it's not easy to manage. And I have seen people just staring at kids and the parent that was with them as if it was their fault in some way. But it would be nice if people offered to help. Is there anything I can do to help? Can I
Right.
help you?
It's
get
not
to your car?
necessarily the kid is spoiled. It's
Right.
the kid might be having
Yeah.
a moment.
Yes.
And that's because they've been overstimulated with the lights or sounds.
Right. Or smells.
Or smell. Oh, smells.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So I didn't
Yes.
know that. Smells. Every time I sit with you, I always learn something. Okay. So the smells and then they're uncomfortable and they're agitated, and so that's when
It just builds and builds
and it builds and builds.
Yes.
Or the clothes are not comfortable. We visited once before, and you shared with us about special clothing that holds them tight, or the weighted blankets
Yeah.
and things like that. So
Yeah.
those things help. Those
Yes.
are tools that maybe a
Pressure.
new mom
Yeah.
might not know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. My son has a weighted quilt, and he'll put it on sometimes on his bed when he feels, I guess,
Okay.
the need.
Okay. And so what? That just calms the.
Yeah.
Get
The
centers.
pressure. The
It's-
pressure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so the special outfits, the
Right.
shirts, and I saw this on one of the national talk shows where a mother had designed some particular clothes, shirts, and other things because her child was on the spectrum.
Right. And probably it was hard to take him out in places. And talking about that, often because they will run, they're runners. They need the in England we call them reins. I think there's like a leash thing here. And people will actually, if you use one of those, people will actually come up and say, why are you treating your child
like a dog? I saw that on social media. And I saw someone had their child on one of those, I say restraints, because in my other life I was a social worker and worked in a mental hospital, because they were in the airport. And they probably didn't want them to run. But I looked at them the same way, but then I had other experience that said there might be something else going on here. So those are a lot of the things that parents have to be judged. And they're trying to do the best thing for their kid. See, we have to educate people.
And some of those kids that are runners, you can get them in a locked room and they will be just plotting, trying to figure a way to get that door open.
Really?
Yeah.
Even the little ones?
Yeah, even the little ones.
Wow. And so if you're a young mother and you're like 20, 25, you haven't even lived life enough. No, and you thought you were going to get this little perfect microchip baby where everything is great and wonderful, and then you start seeing these things. It has to be frustrating for young mothers. That have,
and scary.
Very.
Not understanding what's going on.
Right. And so you have all of the blood, sweat, and tears, and so that's how we ended up with the Autism Hope Center.
Well, that's not how we ended up with it, but that's what it is
part of the journey. No, because this wasn't something you intended to do. This is something that the life journey led you to.
And circumstances too. Because over the years, the situations have changed. I mean, it used to be there was no insurance that would cover the treatment. So, we had to lobby for that. And that has made the biggest difference, because now at least the kids can get therapy, the ABA. But then the co-pays are so high that they can't afford it. So that's why I suggest they get a Katie Beckett waiver. Which is a form of Medicaid that takes away the income limit so that it will pay the co-pays.
See, that's always important information. What we're going to do is go to our final break to our sponsors, and we'll be right back. We'll be right back after word from some of our sponsors.
The law offices of Siobhan S. Thomas and Associates, 201 9th Street in Uptown Columbus, 706-350-7232. A veteran-owned law firm dedicated to equal rights and justice for all. Make Siobhan S. Thomas and Associates your first choice for legal services. Visit SiobhanThomas.com. The Miley Agency, 4903 Armour Road. Gerald L. Miley and William Ripsinger have been providing comprehensive reviews and insuring families in Georgia and Alabama for more than 50 years. The Miley Agency will work non-stop to find you the best policy at the best price. You can rest assured that your information is secure, confidential, and protected. Call today at 706-996-2045. Adjuster Source 101. Sign up today for the Insurance Claims Adjuster virtual course. The All Lines license allows an adjuster to work claims in residential, commercial, inland marine, ocean marine, and workers' comp, Georgia property and casualty, Alabama property and casualty, and additional states. For more information, call 470-724-1050 or info@adjustersource101.com. The Columbus Memory Center, 7196 North Lake Drive, Suite A, Columbus. Dr. Jonathan Liss is a board-certified neurologist and sleep specialist committed to battling Alzheimer's by preserving independence, offering you the opportunity to get your memory number for free, the only vital sign for brain health. Call today at 706-327-4000 or visit columbusmemorycenter.com.
And welcome back to Straightforward. I'm continuing this wonderful visit with the awesome Diane Pope from the Autism Hope Center. And thank you so much for having us, to just sharing with us here today. And you're just always so supportive of us, so agreeable, willing to help. Never gets paid. I mean, helping families. You all are supporting events for the teenagers on the spectrum, the little kids. You have sensory days at Chuck E. Cheese. You have events over at, what's the big church?
Cascade.
They do a lot over there, and we're really grateful for that. And you used to do things at Columbus Tech for the teens. A lot of things happened before COVID.
Yeah.
Things are a little different after COVID, but you all are gearing up and getting a lot of things in place. Even you had Halloween or trick or treat or whatever that was for autism, people on the spectrum. I keep up with everything that you do because I want to try to share the information with people, and I know all of us have someone in our family that have someone on the spectrum. We need to have a plan. We need to be proactive instead of reactionary.
Yes.
And every time we sit, you always share useful information, and that's the thing that I want you to share in this segment. As the kids get older, and you know this from your own child, like you said, we finally have a new act where they can get some health care support. Some of the co-pays are high on some things, but dying and leaving someone on the spectrum that really needs support and wraparound services, a life insurance is not a prudent thing to do.
No. Well, first of all, if you have a child on the spectrum and you're in Georgia, you should apply for Family Support Services, which will pay for extracurricular activity, pay for camp, stuff like that, and that is through the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities.
Okay.
New Horizons DD, not New Horizons Mental Health, they're the ones that handle that. And then if they're going to need a lot of support as they leave school and that sort of thing, you need to apply for a now/comp waiver.
Now/comp waiver, okay.
Which pays for help in the home and the community.
Oh, that's good.
That same funding pays for the group homes and that sort of thing too.
Okay.
Adult daycare.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to decide, what your child's future needs are going to be.
Right.
But the main thing to think about, and also once they turn 18, if they have been turned down for disability in the past because of your income, once they turn 18, it's based on their income.
So they become a family of one.
Yes.
Okay, so once they become 18, even if they have been turned down for disability prior to because of the family income, they need to go back and apply as an individual because at 18 they become a family of one.
Yeah.
And they're disabled and they qualify.
Right.
Okay, so then they qualify for other services.
Right. And along with that comes Medicaid.
Okay, Medicaid.
Right.
So that way we can make sure we're getting health care. Because even with some of the others, if your parents still working at a certain age, you have to come off their insurance.
26, yeah.
At 26.
Yeah.
So at 18, they can get their own disability, family of one, and then Medicaid.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So, and then comes the decision, if you were planning on leaving them a house, an insurance policy or whatever, anything that you leave in their name will stop them getting any benefits.
Okay, any social service support services.
Benefits.
So you have to assess, unless you are a billionaire. No, because your child could live to be 95.
Yeah. Yeah.
$1 million is not enough
No.
to take care of your 17, 18-year-old child to end of life.
Right.
So we have to look at this the long view, not the short view.
Right.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we're saying that because yes, $1 million might seem like a lot of money. Yes, I'm leaving 3 houses. That might sound like a lot, but it depends on how long the person lives.
Well, and
the
how
types
much
of
things
care.
cost.
Exactly.
And the type of care that they need. Yeah. I mean, and so because they're not allowed to have more than $2,000.
So at 18, when they become a family of one, they cannot, in order to qualify for all the things that they will need on their life's journey, cannot have more than $2,000 in the bank or in assets.
Right.
So you can't leave them a $200,000 insurance policy in 3 homes and 5 cars and think that, they're going to be good.
Right.
That's not prudent.
No.
Okay.
You have to leave it in a trust, so that it's not in their name.
Okay.
It can be a family trust,
Okay.
Or a special needs trust.
Okay.
So it's not in their name. Now there is a way for them to have more money, and it's fairly new, the ABLE accounts.
Okay.
And I don't know how many people are doing it, but they are allowed to have up to 100,000
Okay.
in that. If you wanted to put money in, if to buy a car for them, or
Right.
you know, something like that. But that's the only way they can have more than $2,000.
Okay. So they need to be talking to a family estate and trust
Right.
attorney.
Yes.
And you have to pay for that. It's not free, but it's important. It is your wisdom, Diane, who's a subject matter expert, that you ask these questions before you make decisions that could really make the life journey more difficult. So it should something, God forbid, happen to the caregiver, the family members.
Right.
We have to be proactive.
Right.
We have to be.
One other thing too, and this happens a lot, and people say to me, well, I don't understand. Once they've turned 18, you need to have a power of attorney on them, because doctors no longer have to speak to you.
Right, because they're no longer minors.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so you need to have that power of attorney so that they will speak to you.
That is very important.
I know people say,
And people, well,
"But it's
that's my child.
Yeah.
I know. That's every mother's thing.
Yeah.
That's my child.
Yeah.
But if they are an adult, then you need
Yeah.
the power of attorney.
Yeah.
So those are all the things people should be proactive about when you have a child that is moving toward becoming an adult.
Right.
And so we have to plan ahead. If people don't know, they can always find you where?
At the Autism Hope Center.
Autism Hope Center, and you are available. They can find you even on social media.
Yeah.
You are there.
Facebook page.
Facebook page. They can send you a message, and I know you'll get, right back.
I'll be glad to
Okay,
help.
what's your phone number?
706-604-6333.
All right. Well, you do so much. I want all of those people that write checks to other organizations annually. You need to write a check to the Autism Hope Center. No, really, they do, because it's in every family. Whether people talk about it or not, it is there.
Yeah.
And we need to do better, because what you're doing is helping the community to help a group that goes unnoticed.
Yeah.
And we have to do better about that.
And come to our gala.
Absolutely. That's your biggest fundraiser every
it
year.
is.
And they don't have to attend. They can still send their
Yeah,
checks.
they can.
And we want certified checks from the bank, because we know those are all good. Anyway, but we'll take whatever they got. Well, thank you so much for all you do, and we thank you so much. We can't thank you enough.
Well, we can't thank you enough.
We appreciate your friendship. All right. This has been straightforward. If you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. Until next time, be blessed.
What up, world? What's up, Columbus? Be sure to tune in every Sunday, Straightforward with Gloria Strode, right here on NBC 38.